welcome to episode 6 of the Airgun World Podcast with me, Dave Barham, and as always, my right-hand man, Terry Doe, brought to you in association with crackshop.uk. Now then, today we've got a very special studio guest. It's none other than Jamie Chandler. Now, Jamie has been writing for Airgun magazines for as long as I can remember. He's well known for his witty banter and his style of writing, which is unlike anyone else, I must say, and it's very, very well received. You managed to inject a lot of humour and a lot of seriousness into your musings, and it's been noticed by other contributors and readers alike. Your speciality, of course, as we all know, is hunting, isn't it?
All air gunning is fascinating to me, but to lose myself hunting is just pure joy, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Now, for those of you listening to this, you won't be able to see, but for those of you watching, we'll just have seen Jamie raise his arms, and, well, let's just say there's something missing, isn't there, Jamie?
Yes, about 25 IQ points, and yeah, obviously my hands with it. But yeah, that's probably where they went, the IQ points. But yeah, it's weird because it's one of those things that I think traps me between two worlds, which is the world of the handy, you chaps, and the world of the disabled. And I'm kind of, or, alternate able or whatever they say, and I'm kind of between the two, because I have no hands, but it doesn't really stop me doing anything. I've never had adaptions or anything like that. Not interested in that sort of gubbins. But I think it gives me a unique take on air rifles, air gunning, and also the community that we meet out there. Because let's face it, I mean, I've written for Airgunner and now Airgun World for ages, but it's the people around us that make the community, if that makes sense. And most of the people remember me for not having hands, and I wouldn't know them if I didn't. So it's actually kind of a blessing.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Jamie, we've shot together, haven't we? And I must say, it's about time we organised another shoot together. But what amazed me about shooting with you was, like, I mean, I instantly thought, okay, so we've met before at shows and stuff, and it's like, okay, so he's got no hands. He's going to be shooting a PCP, and he's going to get his wife to load his magazines for him. And I know you're a brilliant shot for all your writings. But I was sat there next to you, and you sat there with was it an Air Arms TX200 Springer? And I was watching you cocking that rifle and loading a single pellet into the breech, and it was like, I struggle at the best of times, and you just made it look easy. And it was like, wow, talk about adapt and overcome. You blew me away, to be honest with you, watching you shoot.
Well, you guys all know this. What is it? Isn't it like 35,000 repetitions and you're an expert or something like that?
Right.
Isn't there an actual science behind it? As long as you do something 35,000 times, you'll be really good at it. Yeah, Tiger Woods, 35,000 shots, yeah.
Terry must be a genius then.
Impression from Jamie came at a show when I first met him, and he greeted me with high one instead of high five. And I've never forgotten that. Yeah. And it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I didn't know what to do, but from that second on, I realised that I'm definitely more hung up about it than Jamie will ever be.
I think the problem I have is it looks to you guys with fingers a lot more complicated than it is to me, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've never had hands to lose. So really, it's just like me doing stuff you guys do, but my way. So although it looks dead good for people who don't realise, it's actually just the same as anyone else. It just looks different. And I don't think there's anything particularly magical or secret about it. I just think hopefully I'm just someone bimbling around having fun with an airgun.
You also do a bit of, obviously it's mostly passive control that you do, isn't it, Jamie? But you do get invited on the odd driven day shooting as well, don't you? You do a bit of everything, don't you? Tell us what your shooting life is.
If you had to choose one, obviously air guns first. I'm not just saying that because I write for you guys. I think they're the most accessible, the most fun thing. I've never found a shooting sport better than it. But yeah, I'd go driven shooting, pigeon shooting, deer stalking. If I could afford a horse, I'd probably go hunting as well. Fly fishing, Not sea fishing, because I've never been sea fishing when it's sunny. Not in my 44 years. Have I ever seen the sun on a sea fishing thing? I've had some miserable wet weather, but never a sun. So yeah, anything really. I think it's just being out in the countryside, enjoying myself, however that is.
You actually do more shooting, more hunting than I do, for sure. I mean, I'm constantly following you on Facebook and whatnot, and I know what you've been getting up to. And obviously, in every feature you write, you try and explain what your highlight of the month has been, and put that into words, don't you?
Partly, but I think there's so much more to air guns than just going out and shooting something. Hunting a squirrel is brilliant. A squirrel. I think hunting a squirrel through the woods without a feeder is possibly one of the most fun things you can have with a rifle, whether it's full bore, air gun, or shotgun. There's something, full 360-degree immersion. You don't get that much anywhere else. But also, it's the other side of it. It's the playing with pellets, seeing which ones can smash into a bowl of gelatin and how far they'll go and all that sort of stuff. There's so much you can do with them. They're great.
Like you say, that there's so many different avenues that you can go down with regards to air gun shooting and hunting. It looked like the list is endless. So I think it's one of those things that if you wanted to be really good at everything in your lifetime, I don't think you could.
The Airgun World is expanding. So if you look at like the benefit of having the United States suddenly really keen, and is at the beginning and end of each season, which is extended for bows and air guns. So you've suddenly got bushbuck and people like that producing extraordinarily powerful big bore air guns, which is now sort of seeping into Europe. So you can go to somewhere like Hungary and go wild boar hunting with an air gun if you fancy. And if maybe us Brits forgot that we were on an island and did a bit of Jim Chapman stuff and actually drive for 24 hours, we could have actually access to this stuff from when you guys and I were kids, to now, and if you think running around with our BSA meat shields or something like that, to where we are now with the air rifles or air gun hunting community and how big it is now and how worldwide it is now. It's kind of an exciting time to be there.
Excellent. So what have you got coming up, Jamie? What's next in your shooting calendar? Have you got any exciting trips planned or any exciting hunts?
No, I'm going to continue failing to shoot magpies for a moment. I'm doing a cracking job of having an awful time doing that. I think I've already must be coming on for 20 hours building a nest, putting the eggs in, decoys, and this is over a few times because a farmer friend keeps phoning me up to say, look, it's nearly lambing season, the magpies are everywhere, come and get rid of them. And my God, they're clever things. They just won't come near it. But it's brilliant to learn. I don't know about you, I've been playing with air guns since I was 10, and I'm still learning. So, it's been brilliant, actually. It's kind of reinfused an interest in actually trying to do something I haven't done before.
Terry, have you got any advice there for magpies, decoying magpies?
Listen, magpies, without a shadow of a doubt, I think they're the cleverest of the crow family, and the crows are the cleverest of our quarry. So you're at the peak, you're at the pinnacle there. The best way with magpies that I've found, obviously they need a food source. They need something to sort of home in on, but they will suss you out. They will suss differences. The other thing, Jamie will already know this, but the other thing magpies do, because they're predators and scavengers, magpies have got a brilliant knowledge of what's going on around them regarding other animals, other birds, other alarm calls. They smell, because they're corvids, they can smell things they can smell dead stuff. They can smell you. So the wind's your enemy as well. But a magpie will notice that a blackbird's given an alarm, and it will work out that there's something different. They are so hard to shoot, but you get yourself a decent hide and a food source they're used to coming to. And the great thing is, on about 4 or 5 occasions in my life, I've dropped one magpie and had another one sitting on that magpie, stoving its head in with its beak, and I've taken that one as well. So they can be so excitable. They can be so excitable once they're on that they've seen one die, that you can take more than one. But it's getting in that position. They are I hesitate to use words like clever because that's all relative, but they are really, really difficult to fool, without a doubt.
They're very aware of their surroundings, and any little difference is something to be cautious of. And a 6-foot bloke dressed in a ghillie suit is kind of a bit of a giveaway for them. So I'll carry on going. It's really good fun.
Right, I just want to move on to shameless plug to subscribe to the magazine. We'll talk about what you've just written for us in the April issue. So yeah, if you want to subscribe to the magazine, just head on over to airgunshooting.co.uk. There'll be a link in the description here as well, which gives you a money off code. But the April issue is definitely worth grabbing hold of, but just for Jamie's piece in it this month. How can I explain it? I've flagged it on the cover as, are we being ripped off? Yeah, what you've done, Jamie, is you've grabbed a load of copies of Airgun World from the 80s and had a look in there for adverts for air rifles, basically, and then made a modern comparison and how much it cost then, how much they cost now, and worked out the inflation. I mean, I couldn't do all that lot, but you've worked out the actual inflation and how much that rifle would cost us now. And tell us what you found. What were the results?
Well, it actually started because Facebook groups and all that sort of stuff, and you're always hearing about air rifles going up, everything, blah blah blah, airgun industry or gun industry ripping us off, all of that guffing. And I just wondered, well, are they? So I went up. So do you remember Air Guns in Action?
They've just been re-released. I was a sort of motivation behind it.
So I was watching one of those on YouTube during one of my staggeringly interesting Sundays, and there was a scan with almost a pump action scan. Yeah, you were doing a quick fire test or something.
That was brilliant.
I loved the look of that, and it was £649 or something. Can't remember exactly. And I thought, I wonder how much that would be today. And it's about £1,800 or something like that, crazy. I think inflation, maybe 12. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. And I thought, well, hold on for a second. That was kind of cutting edge then. And they were kind of, one of the top of the tree. They were with the FX or where FX, etc. would be now. So is that particularly expensive? Or was that particularly expensive back then? And it wasn't. So I looked into it. And your BSA Meteor is actually cheaper now than it was back in 1980, whenever I got my first BSA Meteor. So, and it turns out the average price rise is about 6%. So, no one's getting ripped off. It's still an extraordinary market, and there's something there for everyone, no matter what budget you've got. So, we can't really complain.
I'm lucky enough to see a lot of figures. I get involved in the development of the guns, and when I suggest stuff, they say, but we're going to have to buy that. We're going to have to do this. Everyone's going to have this done to it. And if I could draw an average, they're all different. All companies are different. They have different ways of doing stuff. If I could draw one constant from it, if the airgun companies that I've worked with, and it's most, directly passed on the price rises of materials, labour, technology, and all the rest of it, man, you'd see some people complain then. I promise you.
Yeah,
you'd
exactly.
see some people complain then.
If you accept that everything's more expensive than it was, there really hasn't been a price rise. It's basically stayed the same. So, and I think that's fantastic.
And they pay for it by what they call streamlining, which is working smarter without dropping the quality and without doing a load of stuff they don't need to do. And also without, and this is another one, a pet of mine, without funding and producing and entering into all the cost of stuff that, although it might seem really ravingly attractive to you and a few of your mates, is never going to get the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds of investment back. And they know it. They do a load of research. If it were that simple that, a few of us could come up with, say, oh, come on, why don't you make a lovely little lightweight break barrel sporter or something like that? Me and my mates would buy one. Well, that's great. Not one mold tool covered yet, and that's another reason that they stay in business, is that they can't make stuff on a whim. They can't make 20 of them because they'll never get their money back. And the more I got into it, it's amazing how some of the gymnastics they have to go through to actually keep doing what they do and keep providing us with the times we have now, Jamie, which I would contest, equipment-wise, are the finest there has ever been for the airgun shooter.
I think you're right.
In terms of variety and value for money, it's the best we've ever seen. You can be at any level you want to be now. Dave and I are currently testing a gun that talks to us. I swear to you, it talks to you and literally talks to you. And that won't be the last. That won't be the last great innovation. We are in a place now we've never been before, and it's to us it's so exciting, so amazing.
What on a couple of airgun shop sites before coming here tonight, just out of interest. Yeah, and you can buy a PCP which will accurately shoot out to 40 yards for 249 quid, or you can go right up to £3,500–4,000. There's a budget there for anybody, and I can't remember a time when everybody could have a PCP rifle, with almost no prohibitive effect on their wallet, because some people have got more than others, and some you can buy something which will do as effective job as another one for 249 or 3,500. It's brilliant.
Slightly off piste. I mean, Terry and I have just got back. I mean, that's probably, if I look a little bit weary, it's because I am. And you, Terry, we just got back from the British Shooting Show.
Total blur yesterday. Proper mind fog from being fully on for 3 days, solid.
We're talking about. It's never been a better time to be an air gunner, and there's so much out there. I mean, there were loads of new guns, loads of new launches at the show this year. I mean, Air Arms, for instance, 11 new rifles. I mean,
I love the fact that they're bringing back the S200.
Yeah.
Or they're reinventing the S200. The S200, again, affordability in PCPs. It was outstanding. And I remember it was a lot of people's first PCP because it was so value orientated at the same time. And now they're doing a whole range based on it. It's brilliant.
No, it's a wonderful concept they've got. They're opening their sort of customer portfolio to as widely as possible to get as many people in on as many different levels as they can. I think it's a brilliant thing. Exactly what you said, Jamie. They did it with the S200. And I remember, I think I was the first to test it at Bisley when the late Bill Sanders brought it down. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And I tested it and I said, because at the time I was shooting an air arms in field target. I showed him the two groups and I said, "Which one as my all singing, all dancing rifle shot and which one was shot by the S200? He said, "I don't know." I said, "No, nor do the pellets. The pellets don't know it. But this thing," I said, "you better have ordered a lot." He said, "I've ordered 500 units. I said, nowhere near enough. Treble it." I said, "I'm not, I don't know as much as you do about it." I said, "But you're being too cautious." And he did treble it, I believe, and they still sold out. So, and that, as you say, Jamie, that got them on the ladder. That got them there and saying, "Look what I can do. Look what I can do at 40 yards and 50 yards. Now let's put the hard yards in and get the positional training done." But they're in. We've got them, and they're loving it, and they're at a level they can afford. Air Arms are doing it all again, only more so, and I totally applaud them for doing it.
And they've teamed up with that Indian company.
Yeah, Press a Hole in India are huge. They're absolutely huge. I tested their products first again when Air Arms sent me some 3 years. Yeah, just about 6 months before COVID. Of course, that put a spanner in everything. But I tested them, and again, I said, "This is the S200 all over again." These things shoot. They shoot straight, and they look like they're solid enough. They're last. They're not on the. They're not £1,000 air gun. Of course, they're not, because they don't cost £1,000. That's customers shouldn't look at them to say that the prestige of it should run right from the top to the bottom. It doesn't. Some people just want to pick up a rifle and shoot it and enjoy it. Not they don't all want to stroke them lovingly like us tragics do. That X200 with the tank on it, you can either have a cylinder if you want, or you can have a buddy bottle. that is a really neat little sporter that you can clamber around in barns with and bang around in your Land Rover cab, drag it through the. I know, Jamie, you treat yours with, absolute, you spoil your rifles, don't you? You don't bash them about at all much.
No, I clean them every day, of course.
Every day he cleans.
The first time you relax with an air gun is the first time you put a dent in it. Once it's got a dent in it, it's fine. I can cope with that. Once I've ruined the stock, I'm okay with it. Up until then, you're walking around terrified that something's happened. Once it does happen, you're fine. You can just...
Yeah, I hope so, because I was doing an interview with Tony Belis and we were leaning on the shelves at the back of the day state stand, and an Airwolf fell off from about 5 foot up, and luckily didn't land on Tony or anybody else, but it just smashed into the floor. And he said, "That's a drop test." He said, that excellent drop test. He said, "Let's see if it still works." But it did. No, I know exactly what you mean. It's heartbreaking when you do get a scratch on it, but it's almost a relief.
While we're talking about Tony Belas, congratulations, if you're listening, watching, on your Lifetime Achievement Award. I think that was very well deserved, wasn't it?
Well, I'm casting my eyes toward a similar award in the corner of the man cave, 2015. Do you know why they gave me that? Honestly, I'm convinced they gave me that. 'Cause I was recovering from throat cancer at the time, and I thought, they give me that, they think I'm going to die. It's the John Wayne Oscar. It was a John Wayne Oscar, that was, I bet. Yeah, I was very proud of it. But no, congratulations, Tony, and he totally deserves it. He's put heart and soul into his job and his love of air guns and the sport, and he thoroughly deserves it. He's a top lad.
Absolutely. I think we should dive into some readers' questions, don't you?
Go for it.
I've got a few here for all of us. There's one for Terry on his own. Before we dive into that, I was just going to say a quick plug to anyone watching and listening to head on over to airgunshooting.co.uk, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and sign up to our newsletter, the Airgun World newsletter. There will be a link in the description here as well. But yeah, it's each month. We've just revamped them, actually. I don't think by the time this goes out, they'll be quite ready, but it's quite certainly by the time Matt puts his next podcast out, the new look newsletters will be there. They're going to be packed full of tips, links to features on the website, and we're also looking at putting a competition on there as well every month. So there's going to be prizes to win as well. So yeah, head on to airgunshooting.co.uk or just click the link in the description. Okay, let's do some Q&A, shall we? Okay, I'll kick off with this one. This one is from Dr. Michael Atkins. Now, he's a regular writer into the magazine.
I met him at the show. He was at the show.
Yeah, it was a lovely chap. Yeah. He said, "Hi, Dave. I really enjoy Rodney Turner's inquiry and Terry's reply in the March issue. Very short-range shooting is something I do on our farm for rodents. Terry's zeroing advice was great, and I wonder if a fuller article reply might be useful on the subject of short-range hunting. Best type of rifle, scope, if at all, caliber, pellets, safety, etc. Also, do pistols have a humane role here? Now, I know what my opinion is on pistols for hunting. As far as a dispatch tool, they're absolutely fine, but I wouldn't really want to shoot anything with an air pistol. No. Terry, do you want to dive into that a bit deeper and maybe do us a piece on short range?
I think it does. I think it does deserve a bit of an amplification. Short range shots at 5 yards. I would bet the untrained and everyone away from the HFT and FT circuit, you would find maybe 2 in 10 would know that you have to treat with a standard sporter zeroed at say 35 yards. You have to treat a 5 yard target as though it's 45 to 55 yards away. Okay, so it's about a 47 yard shot as far as holdover goes. Most people don't know that. Certainly when I train people like professional pest controllers who will have to deal with these shots, everyone thinks you aim low. And of course, that's even more of a disaster. It does need exploring. As for if you were doing it exclusively, if you had a hunting situation where you were shooting the majority of your shots between 5 and 8 yards, and provided the light's there, I'd have open sights. I honestly would. I'd keep that sight line as close to the flight line of the pellet and the bore as I could. But the red dots, again, they can be cranked above the bore line, so you're not getting a real advantage there at all. I think it's a fascinating thing. I'd like to do some groups as well. When was the last time I grouped open, with open sights?
Yeah.
But what rifles are you going to use with open sights? Which ones? You wouldn't need anything that's... You don't need rifles that'll put shots inside a wedding ring at 50 yards for shooting at 6 yards. So that, there really is some potential there. I think I might do something for the next one.
I'm right in saying, Terry, as well, aren't I, that most modern scopes these days don't actually... You can't zero inside 10 yards, can you?
Well, not really, unless you crank them right, unless they're 3 to 9s or 2 to 7s or something like that. But magnification's not a thing. You don't, at a really close range, you don't need that. You need target acquisition. You need instinctive smooth shooting. So now we're getting into rifle fit. We're getting into gun fit now. We're getting into ergonomics now. And because they're that close to you, they're more likely to spook unless you're shooting from a position of concealment. Then, of course, you've got eye protection, and you've got all of this has to be done in a fraction of a second. Your target identification, safety angles, that's quite a thing. And even on the circuit, even on the shooting circuit, and when I was raving mad field target shooter shooting 1,000 shots a week, you walk up and you see a 5-yarder with a half-inch kill on it or an inch kill. You go, oh, God, I wish that was at 40 yards. I wish that was a full kill at 40 yards, that thing, because you look so stupid when they don't go down. And they're tough shots. Really close shots are tough shots. Yeah, he's right. We do need to explore that a bit more, and I'll do it.
Okay, I've got one more question here. This is from William Forth. He says, "Hello, team. I've been shooting for over 30 years, mostly hunting rabbits and rats, and I've recently decided to take the plunge and try my hand at HFT competition shooting. Do you have any tips for training routines?" Well, I guess, Terry, you should be straight in on that one.
Yeah, straight off the top. I never did HFT, but it was a friend of mine who started it, Pete Sparks. He came to me years before he actually started it and said what he'd like to do. And I thought it was a brilliant idea, although it did start off as the cheaper version of FT, the more affordable version of FT. And as soon as it became worth winning, of course, those boys' guns are just as complicated as the FT boys. The best advice ever, go and get yourself into a club. Get yourself into a club that does a fair bit of HFT. Failing that, look at the competitions, attend a competition and speak to the people there. And not while they're shooting their competitions, but while they're gathering and chatting away. They are so helpful, so happy to help. They will provide you with more information in one day than you can gather for yourself from any medium, including our beloved medium, in a year. Get yourself along, rub shoulders with them, understand them. They will give you the proper advice. Most of the time, they let you shoot their guns as well. They're very proud of how their guns shoot. But get yourself into a club that does HFT, or get yourself next to people who do it and know all about it. That would be my advice for HFT and FT. And any airgun pursuit, get into a club with experienced people who will help you. And it's a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah, Jamie, you've written quite a few times about new clubs and various ranges that you're members of down your neck of the woods, haven't you?
Yeah, I think Terry's right. Go to a club. I've only done 6 or 7 rounds of HFT, but every time I've been paired with teamed with really nice people, because you go around and see 3 or 4 or whatever. And the stuff I've learnt from them has been extraordinary. Obviously, I don't shoot prone because of silly short arms, Tyrannosaurus type thing. So that kind of discounts me. But I gave, do you remember Roger Late's HFT Masters thing?
Yeah.
I gave that a go, and I've been round HFT courses with people. And I think if you can go along, I mean, obviously it's easy to think, especially if you go out hunting on your own, you know quite a lot. If you can go along with an open mind and a kind of an attitude to listen, you'll pick up so much from people who've done it for ages, who can teach you about how they learn about windage and how, they walk the time. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, and it's a completely different environment, I think, to hunting. And you can learn so much. So I would just find your nearest HFT club go along, see what they're like, and you'll learn something. That's the easiest way to do it.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. I'm just rereading your question, William, that you've been hunting for 30 years, maybe mostly rabbits and rats. My first bit of advice there would be to stick some targets up in some trees and start practicing your elevated shots. But a lot of the stuff you've been hunting for the last 30 years has been on the ground. I know you do get rabbits up in the air, but a large part of HFT is the elevated shots up in trees and stuff. So that would definitely be something you need to practice on, because as we all know, taking standing shots at elevated targets is a world of its own, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Okay.
What I would like to do is to give our podcast fans a tiny instant rundown of things to keep an eye out for that I saw at the show. Did you see, Dave? Did you see Nate Croney, the Australian guy?
I did.
What a guy that is. What a man. He's given me one of those Australian bush hats, the ones with the corks. Jamie could rock one of these. Except he's 3D printed pellets instead of corks. Pellets about this big, So he's obviously he could see a kindred spirit there. But no, his product is a little it's an on-barrel one, and it's got various adapters and stuff. No battery. It provides its own Wi-Fi hotspot, and you hook up to it on the phone, and it all comes down the phone. Now I haven't done it yet. I did it at the show. I haven't done it yet, and I will be doing it. But there was that wonderful chrono. And then Mike Herney had one, didn't he? Mike Herney had a little tiny chrono. So there's those two to look out for.
Was that the screw on?
Yeah.
Was that the one that goes on the end of the barrel? Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. He's got two different fitments on the Nate Croney one, where you 1/2-inch UNF, or he's got a big adapter block that he prints himself, and it closes up on screws with these triangulation things. And he's in Australia. He's delivering them from Australia for under, I think they're getting on £100 or something. But when you put your order in, he goes off and he's got a, what do they call it? A farm. He's got a 3D printer farm, he calls it. That's what they call them. And he goes and does it, and he sends it to you. Anyways, loads more to find out about that, but I will do a piece on it because I think our readers and our listeners could really enjoy it. You must have seen the Mora RTI with the full-length silencer. Jamie, for your information, for everybody out there, there's RTI do various rifles, the Priest and the P3 I've been using. Well, this one is obviously designed for high power, and it's got 2.5 feet of 50mm diameter silencer. Okay. And I said to him, first thing I said to him, I said, is there an adapter on the end to put a silencer? And he looked at me like I was completely raving mad. But it got worse because the guy's name is Rock. And he held his hand out and said Rock. So I did paper, scissors. And he hadn't heard of it. I don't guess where in Croatia or wherever he comes from. He hadn't heard of it. I thought, oh no. I asked him about putting a silencer on. This thing's got a drain pipe on it already. But the rifle itself, wow. Keep an eye out for that. Big news. The Theoban Rapid could be on its way back. Seriously, could be. A very big company. It's currently with gunpowder in the States, and Rapid Air Weapons sort of sold out to them, I think. I don't fully understand it because it's still all up in the air. But he'd like me to look at it and do a bit of a test on it and keep an eye on that. Dave will back me up on the next one. The BSA Takedown was quite a sexy thing, wasn't it? That the rifle in a briefcase sort of thing. Yeah. More than a novelty, and that is so convenient to carry and so discreet to carry, and it stays.
It's that just one bolt, didn't it? It was just one bolt, which literally puts the action onto the stock. You're ready to go.
Guide holes that drop, the pegs drop into, and then one bolt goes on. Scope stays on, of course. Everything's perfectly zeroed. Full facility, nothing. You haven't lost anything. You haven't lost any charge, capacity, nothing. Really interested in that.
That's an R12 CLX.
R12, yeah. I wonder if they could do other models, but
if you were to race to put together the R12 CLX, the takedown one, and the S410 TDR, which would be quickest? out the box to put together.
Now there's an idea for a video.
You'd probably beat me anyway, so I can't see them being too far apart, to be honest. But no, it's a good idea. It's a different case. I mean, it's a chunky big old case, but it's not gun shaped, and it would definitely fit in your boot. A sight
it's
easier.
Like a suitcase. Yeah,
it's like a flat suitcase.
Yeah.
It's like a big briefcase. Like a big briefcase, it is. But it's really good. The other thing I'd like to say, there were some really sexy things on the BRK and Day State stand. Some of those BRKs, those formerly known as Brococks, man, they're some tidy looking guns, aren't they? I did chat to Tony and said, people are asking me what's the difference, and he defined it as different tools for different jobs and different looks and all this sort of stuff. He's got it all nailed down. But that ghost, that little stumpy ghost, that's a wonderful little thing. I'm going to have to get behind one of those. And the last thing I'd like to say is it's not remotely corny. The volunteers on the demo ranges, man, what are they like? Paddy Egan and the Humorex Boys Club crew turn up show after show, introducing thousands and thousands of airgunners to the joys of hitting a wonderful target layout, which, they put out, they take it away. Wonderful one. They don't get enough. I can't praise them enough. Obviously, I wind Paddy up about his ridiculous Midlands accent every time I speak to him. But absolutely love that guy and all the crew that works with him and all the volunteers we've got out there. They're all fantastic. And that show, I think for feel-good factor and for buzz, I think that's the best one I've been to. I mean it. I think it's the best one I've been to.
I'd agree. It is without doubt the best show in Europe for air gunners. Pretty much every single manufacturer and every company is represented at that show in some form or another. If you're an air gunner and you missed that show, you've missed a trick, because there's so much stuff. There's so much new stuff. And so many lovely people to talk to. All of these manufacturers, all of the retailers, they just talk to you all day long. Poor old Eric on Crackshot, he lost his voice on the first day.
It'd gone. Ryan on Highland Outdoors. I spoke to Ryan today on the phone. I thought he was ill. He said, I'm not ill. He said, my voice is gone. Yeah. Ryan's got a great philosophy, that same as I have. The one punter that comes up to speak to you, the one enthusiast that comes up to speak to you, he is an absolute VIP, that guy, because you are his contact with the sport. And if he's brand new to it, he's going to take away an impression of the entire sport from talking to you and people like you. So you've got to give everything. That guy's important, because we were him, weren't we? We were all him one day.
Yeah.
When we're hungry for the knowledge. And Ryan's, I spoke to him, I could hardly hear him on the phone. I had to put the phone down in the end. And the Crackshot guys, flat out. It was the buzz there, the feedback I was getting. And the fact that we're at the NEC, Jamie, we're at the NEC, mate, where people's pet dogs are shown, people's cars are exhibited, people's caravans, and all the fabric of proper life is shown at the NEC, and we're part of that. We're part of accepted conventional society at one of the most prestigious showgrounds in Europe, and we need that show to carry on for our sport. We need, and thank goodness to John and Annie and the team that put it on. What a wonderful effort. And what a wonderful effort that was.
Well, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining the show tonight, Jamie. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. Matt will be here in 2 weeks' time with Rich Saunders and another studio guest. We'll be back in a month today. As always, massive thanks to crackshot.uk for sponsoring the show. And if you want to subscribe and sign up to our newsletter, click the links below or just head on over to airgunshooting.co.uk. We'll see you all again in a month's time.